Howdy everyone, it's Sam. Welcome to the Wobble and Joy Sports channel. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. But if you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. It is round number 7, not 5 or 6, it's round number 7. Get that friggin' right this friggin' weekend. Let's get stuck straight into the tips for the NRLW round. Round number 7 kicks off on Saturday morning from 11 a.m. at GIO Stadium in Canberra. Arguably the match of the round, the Raiders versus the Knights in an all top 4 matchup. There are no odds out for any games, unfortunately, this weekend, but I would suggest that the Newcastle Knights would be coming in as pretty decent sized favourites. I'd suggest $1.60 to the Raiders, to $20. Both of these sides only have the one inclusion for the Canberra Raiders. Apia Nichols comes back into the fullback position, and that pushes out Sarah Tungiai back out to the wing. And then for the Newcastle Knights, Miss Kia drops out of the side, and therefore that means Tiana Davison comes on to the bench. This is a battle that for missed tackles, it's second versus sixth, but it's the Raiders who are better in that department. They are the second best team in the NRLW for not missing their tackles. Meanwhile, for the Newcastle Knights, they sit sixth, or in another way, fourth last in that department. Last weekend, the Knights, they ran out to a 16 points to nil lead, and the final score was 22 points to 14. The Knights still sit inside the bottom 3 for handling errors. So they're still winning, but they're winning in a scrappy-esque kind of a way. And meanwhile, for the Raiders, they had a good start. They scored the first 2 tries of the game against the Broncos in their first ever game in Queensland. And then the Broncos turned it on, unfortunately for Raiders fans, winning 40 points to 8. I don't think that loss was coming for the Canberra Raiders in that manner. So a really surprising and disappointing result for the Canberra Raiders. I do think there is sniff against the Newcastle Knights, but how can you tip against the Newcastle Knights at the moment, the defending premiers? So I'm going to choose Newcastle to win 1-12. The second game on Super Saturday is the start of a double header from Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Kicking off at 12:50 p.m. on the Saturday, the Broncos, the home side in Townsville, host the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. I tend to suggest that it'd be a fair, even money down the middle split between these two sides. Going into the team list for the Brisbane Broncos, Maddock, Robinson, Hofanga, Chisolka, Werner, Broughton, and Brickenshaw. The forward packers, Nuasala, Brill, Clark, Gray, Teitzel, and Mariah Denman. The interchanges, Ferguson, Lafayette, Lenarduzzi, and Lauren Dam. Going into the Cronulla Sharks, Taylor, Ravix, Penatani, Staples, Takarangi, Tonagato, Preston. The forward packers, Johnston, Dodd, Saunders, Holmes, Foliaki, and Wheeler. And the interchange reads Nato Katoka, and Horata Butler, Brooke Anderson, and Tegan Demick. So Anessa Biddle is out with suspension for the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks, and Andy Robinson as well out for the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. The stats actually would tend to suggest that the Sharks should win this game. It is third versus last in offloads, with the Sharks being the third best team in the competition for offloads. Then the post-contact meters, the Cronulla Sharks have 100 plus more meters in that department over the Brisbane Broncos. Their kick return meters, they are the best team in the competition for kick return meters. And Jada Taylor has only played 3 of the 7 rounds, or 6 rounds, this season so far. So the Sharks are doing well statistically. It's just defensively, like, they're not the worst team for missed tackles or ineffective tackles. They just, when they lose, man, it's just the holes open up, unfortunately. And then for the Brisbane Broncos, man, like, yeah, the Raiders scored the first 2 tries of the game. Um, And the Broncos, they're a bit of a mystery for me to try and wrangle in. I don't know what to expect from them on a week in, week out basis with the Brisbane Broncos. Being that both of these sides have won in Townsville this season by scoring 40 plus points, I think this actually becomes the match of the round in Townsville. A really difficult game to tip. Um, I don't know. Both these sides, I just don't trust. I don't have a lot of confidence in tipping at the moment. The Sharks did well to get back into that game, but they started out really slowly. So too did the Broncos. I think just the fact that this is, I don't know, just the fact that this is in Queensland. I was going to say Broncos, but again, the Sharks put 40 on the Cowboys only a couple of weeks ago at this same venue. So a really, really hard game to tip, but I'm going to go the Brisbane Broncos to win this game 1 to 12. And the second game of the doubleheader at Queensland Country Bank Stadium sees the first ever matchup between the Cowboys and the St. George Illawarra Dragons. I think maybe the Cowboys would be $1.80 to the Dragons $2, but there wouldn't be too much in the head-to-head department. I wouldn't think so. Going into the Cowboys team list, Goldthorpe, Nakore and Blackwell are the back three. Peters and Shelley Long, the centres. Tillett and Kira Dibb are the halves combination. Tillett, now I did watch the game, but I was out and about, and I saw Tillett go off with about 10 minutes remaining in that contest. She didn't look injured. So did Tillett get hooked last weekend? Wow, that wow. Forward pack is Talisha Harden, Mantelman, and Wheel. Chester, Tiana Raffstrand-Smith, and now China Palata is playing in the lock position. Wow. The interchange is Faifua, Koroi, Muka, and Jessica Reeves. And really cool to see that Lily Peacock has been named with jersey 18 on her back, and that April Natapuna has also been named in the reserves list. And I believe that she was just rested last weekend. So I think maybe watch this space for the Cowboys team list. Going into the St. George Illawarra Dragons, Tegan Berry is going to come really close to winning the best player of the year for sure. Possibly even fullback of the season is already locked up for her. She's absolutely slaying things. Margot Vele and Cortez Tapowu are the two wingers. Lendl Amone are the centres. Nathan Wong and McGregor, the halves pairing. The forward pack, Takaranga Katoa, Target, McGrath West, and the back row is Costa, Bright, and Taniai. Interchanges Hopkins, Cowan, Murdoch, and Carlisle for the St. George Illawarra Dragons. This is looking at some of the stats. So these are the two most penalised teams in the NRLW for 2023. Not too much. That is the clue, but not too not to go too in depth on what needs to happen in order for one of these two teams to win this weekend. It's also, however, on the flip side of things, a game that pits the two sides who complete the best in the NRLW. So really, discipline is the factor for both of these sides, especially the North Queensland Cowboys this weekend, who are yet to win at Queensland Country Bank Stadium, and it is their last opportunity. This is their last home game, technically, not technically, it's their last home game in Townsville. They got one more home game, but that's down in the Gold Coast, far from a friggin' home game. So this is must win. Like this, there's only 3 rounds left, and the loser of this game, I think their season is over technically. Another stat that goes into this as well. This is a match that pits two of the worst teams in the NRLW for missed tackles. The thing that does work in favor of the Cowboys is their tackle breaks. They are inside the top 5, I think 5th, whereas the Dragons are last when it comes to tackle breaks in the NRLW. So the girls, they still need to stay mean, but they're disciplined. They need to stay just a level below that red line. They can't afford to be ill-disciplined like they have been all season long, which is really surprising, because I just don't think Ben Jeffries would have instilled that sort of game into them. So Cowboys, they're going to come up and they're going to win their first ever home game and keep their finals hopes alive. They're going to win this game 13 plus. Shifting into Sunday now, and there are two games. Game number one is on the Sunday afternoon from midday at the Gold Coast. The Titans host the West Tigers. I think the Titans would be pretty decent sized favourites in this contest. This is a game that has the Gold Coast featuring as the worst team in the NRLW for completions. The Tigers are about that mid level as well. But the offloads are way better for the West Tigers. They actually lead the NRLW competition for offloads. The other stat that goes the way of the Titans is they are second for tackle breaks as well. The Titans and the Tigers, they have dropped off defensively after starting the season as two of the three best defensive sides in the competition. I think defensively, I think the Tigers are a better team. The Titans, yeah, they can just score some more points. So I think it is more so the attack versus the defense of the Tigers, even though the Titans aren't doing that well in attack. It's a really even matchup. So going into the Titans, Politi, Brown, Chapman, Guthrie, Sinapati, Kiriaratu, and Lauren Brown is playing in the halfback position. So Sienna Lafipo is coming off the bench in jersey 14. Marto, Brillinati, Elliston, Canfield, Bent, and Hale. And then Hancock, Jorgensen, and Parisi round out the interchange. For the West Tigers, they got some concerns. So BVW, Jakai Whitfield, Horn, Tufunga, Staines, Pele Rasa Bale, and Brooke Talatena, the back line. And then the forward pack is Gobrin, Pryor, Pio, Apps, Salata, and George. Sophie Curtin, Bennett, Kennedy, and Nawa round out the interchange bench. So it's a really young, raw-looking West Tigers outfit. The likes of Rakea Horn and Kezi Apps failed HIAs last weekend, so they are in doubt this weekend. And look, I just can't go past the Gold Coast Titans at the moment. They've got a superstar lineup that is still missing Talia Fuime Ono from the halves position. And they did win that game 23-22 down in Cogra in one of the better games the NRLW has produced this season. But against this Tigers outfit, I think they're just getting a little bit bashed from pillar to post. So I'm going to choose the Gold Coast Titans. Yeah, I'm probably not 13 plus. I'll go 1 to 12. And the final game of round number 7 emanates from Industry Group Stadium, or Central Coast Stadium as it was once known, in Gosford. The Sydney Roosters host the Parramatta Eels. This will be the fourth meeting between the two sides, and the eastern suburbs have the record at 2-1. And it's the first time that they have met since that famous semi-final where the Parramatta Eels got a huge upset victory over the Sydney Roosters, man. Wild result that was. There's not too many changes for either side. It looks like that Capri Payakal is going to replace Nakia Davis-Walsh. And then unfortunately for the Sydney Roosters, Shorten Burton, her season is over because of an ACL injury. So that means Grace Hamilton returns to the Sydney Roosters 1 to 17 lineup. I'm going to keep this, unfortunately, really short and sweet for Eels fans. Sydney Roosters 13 plus. Hey, thank you very much for tuning in and checking this video out. It really means a lot. Hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Come on, you Cowboys.